Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another soccer video. So it's way too early in the morning for this. I did get up and watch the US women's national team take on Sweden in their first Olympic game. So as you can tell from the title, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And it is way too early in the morning for this. It's also way too early in the morning to be this disappointed. Anyway, but let's get into it. So let's start off by looking at the starting lineup. So we have what the US has been doing, the play that the US has been doing, the 4-3-3. So we have our four defenders, Crystal Dunn, Becky Sauerbrunn, Abby Dahlkemper, and Kelly O'Hara. And then we have Alyssa Nair as the goalkeeper. Our midfield has Samantha Mewis, Lindsay Horan, and Rose Lavelle. And for forwards, we have Kristen Press, Alex Morgan, and Tobin Heath. So pretty standard lineup. Get used to it. I did make some notes on the lineup. I didn't really have that much time. Once again, I'm in the US on the East Coast, and I had to get up at 4 to follow this game. I didn't really have time to look at the lineup, but I did take some notes on it. Personally, the defenders are all good. I probably would have started Emily Sonnet instead because this is a game where we would need a very aggressive defender. So for good midfield, Sam Mewis, Lindsay Horan, Rose Lavelle. Rose Lavelle, very fast player. Sam Mewis, good goal scorer. For forwards, Kristen Press, Alex Morgan, Tobin Heath. I probably would have preferred Carly Lloyd to starting in the starting 11 and then bring Alex Morgan in on the second half. But either way, it's still good. So now let's get into the first half. Early on, Sweden is very aggressive early on for Sweden. Very strong possession. I noted that the US has to be more aggressive and they really need to maintain control. Like I wrote, stop letting Sweden get the ball, stop letting Sweden control the game, because that's what they were doing. Sweden is putting a lot of pressure early on the US, and I noted that the US defense is going to be tested in this game. There was a good attempt by Kristen Press and Alex Morgan. Sweden is dictating the pace of the game, maintaining that control, putting a lot of pressure on the US, and the US needs to stop letting them put pressure on them. The US needs to stop letting Sweden dictate this game. And I also was writing all over the place, stop losing possession. So great save by Nair, but the US really needs to start picking up the pace in this first half and taking back control. It's early on in the game, and Sweden has more shots and attempts on the US goal. Another great save by Nair, but after that I wrote, what is happening? Because if you were to watch this game, it's not the US, this isn't the US, or this isn't how the US play. I'm still speechless. This isn't how you would think the US should be playing in the Olympics. And sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied because it's early in the morning. Okay, 24 minutes in. After that one great save by Nair, she had a lot of great saves. Don't blame Nair for losing this game, please. But after a save by Nair, 24 minutes in, Sweden scores 1-0. And finally, some life in the US, starting to attack right after Sweden's goal. Yeah, it's 1-0 at this point, and the US just needs to tie it up. Sweden is pulling back a little, and the US can take advantage of that. Sweden is, at this point, happy with that 1-point lead, and they're going to maintain that. and the US can take advantage of that, but yeah. The US can't keep letting Sweden get control of the ball, and they can't let Sweden get another goal. I also said again, US needs to stop losing possession because they're losing possessions through like easy passes. US defensively isn't doing so well. I don't think the US back line was ready for Sweden's more aggressive play. This is the first time the US is getting challenged defensively by a fast-paced and aggressive team. And that's kind of why I wanted like Emily Sonnet to be in that starting 11, because she is a very aggressive defender. Pretty sure she'll kill you. And then I noted Alyssa Nair has some great blocks and saves in this game, because she does. I will always stand up for the goalkeeper. And then the first half is coming to an end, and I wrote early on the US should have been putting more pressure on Sweden, or should have been coming out fast and aggressive. So first half ends. Overall, very brutal first half, like very shocking and disappointing performance from the US women's national team so far in this first half. Sweden had total control of the first half. It was like I was watching the 2007 World Cup semifinal where the US took on Brazil, and Brazil just dominated the whole game. Like, in this first half, there is still time to turn things around and tie it up, but the US needs to start playing more aggressively and needs to pick up the pace and really put on the pressure. If Sweden controls this game, there is no chance of the US winning it. I'm going to defend Nair and say she had some great blocks and saves, but the rest of the team needs to start playing. I wrote, hopefully things will get better in the second half. I'm thinking it's just nerves and the players remembering what happened in Rio, but they can turn things around. Hopefully in the second half, we will see a more explosive performance from the US. And we did see an explosive performance, but it's not the one that I or others would have wanted. Okay, the second half starts. We have substitutes. Carly Lloyd is in for Alex Morgan. Julie Ertz is in for Sam Mewis. I don't think Sam got as much action in the first half as she would have liked. Okay, the US is keeping up possession early on. I think Tobin Heath gets knocked down. Callie O'Hara later on looks like she got taken down, but she seems fine. She gets up with no problem. There's a corner from Sweden. The US really needs to be careful with these corners. I noticed that Sweden in the first half was getting a lot of corners. So that's why I said the US needs to be careful. 54 minutes in, Sweden scores a second goal. Sweden 2-0. Whoops. Yeah, I wrote, geez, at this point, this is just painful to watch. And honestly, I thought the 2007 World Cup semifinal between Brazil and the US women's national team was painful. I was asking, like, can the US make it back in this half? Like, can the US tie this up? Sweden is holding off the US pretty well and getting the ball down to the US goal. Also want to add, Sweden's defense is really good. So corner for the US, and nothing comes from it. There's a substitution for the US. Megan Pinot comes in for Tobin Heath. We're in desperate need of goals. US is by Sweden's goal or near Sweden's box, and nothing comes of it. Sweden gets possession again. The question I'm wondering is, how is the US losing possession so much? Sweden moving the ball back to the US goal. I mean, the US is playing more aggressively. They're they're getting really close. They're getting touches on the ball. They got to keep it up. They have to keep pressing. They have to keep possession no matter what. And as I wrote that, 72nd minute in, third goal for Sweden. So Sweden 3-0. And what is even happening to the U.S. women's national team? Sweden is in complete control of this game. The back line of the U.S. is getting thrashed. There is no coming back in this game for the U.S. They would need a miracle at this point. Like, this is bad and a very disappointing performance from the U.S. The U.S. loses the ball again. Nair saves. 81st minute substitutions. Tierna Davidson in for Crystal Dunn, who was doing so well defensively. Like, yes, the back line was getting thrashed, but Crystal Dunn was hanging in there. She got a lot of action, and I think she did pretty well for what was going on. Christy Mewis comes in for Rose Lavelle. Another attempt on Sweden's goal by the U.S. Very close. Sweden is down to the U.S. goal again. U.S. gets the ball back, putting more pressure on Sweden, but honestly, the game is almost over. And the U.S. should have been doing that early on. They should have been putting pressure on Sweden much earlier on. Good attempt / header by Kristen Press, but not quite there. I then wrote, I wish I didn't have to watch any more of this, and thankfully I don't because it's over. That's game. Sweden wins 3-0, giving Sweden 3 points in the group stage. Overall, what the hell did I just watch? This was the worst performance by the U.S. so far. And man, I thought the 2007 World Cup semifinal against Brazil was painful. I guess the upside, though, is there wasn't any questionable coaching decisions in this game, unlike the semifinal against Brazil. Anyway, Sweden completely dominated this whole game, and honestly, I had to give it to Sweden. They played really well. The U.S. defense just got thrashed, and I honestly can't fault Alyssa Nair. She's still a great goalkeeper, but what was up with our defense? As for the midfield and forwards, this was a game where the U.S. needed to be aggressive. The U.S. needed to maintain control and possession. When it comes to Sweden, if you lose possession and can't When it comes to Sweden, if you lose possession and can't maintain control, they will. If you watch Sweden's previous friendlies from this year, they're really good at keeping possession and maintaining control of the game. The U.S. needed to go hard in this game. They needed to be aggressive, but honestly, what happened? How did this team fall apart so much? Yeah, I have to admit this was a very disappointing game, a very brutal and painful game to watch. Hopefully the U.S. will be able to win their next 2 games. They have to play, I think, Australia. I know it's Australia and New Zealand. I don't know which one is next. I will look that up. In the group stage right now, U.S. has 0 points while Sweden has 3. Great Britain and Brazil already have 3 points in their group stages as well. Yeah, what a way to start a Wednesday morning. I think I'm going to go back to bed. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.